The pattern behind the no. Why bank stories are about timing, not rejection. By Frank26. Hello family, this is Frank26. Today, I want to dive deep into a topic that keeps coming up in my conversations with you all, something I hear about almost every single day. We're talking about bank stories. Those little whispers that make their way through the financial world, the stories that get your hopes up, make your heart race, and then sometimes leave you wondering what's real and what's not. Now let's be real for a second. Bank stories have always had a certain mystery to them. They're the golden eggs of our world, rare, precious, and often surrounded by confusion. Every now and then, someone stumbles onto one, and when that happens, it can change everything if you know how to handle it. But before we talk about what to do when that moment arrives, let's rewind a little. Because not long ago, things looked very different. When people used to mention a bank story, maybe something they heard from a teller, a manager, or someone on the inside, the first reaction most folks had was skepticism. It's a scam, they'd say. I don't buy it. There's no way a legitimate bank would ever be involved in something like that. And I get it, that kind of thinking came from experience. The financial world has always had its share of shady deals, bad actors, and false promises. People learned to protect themselves, and skepticism was part of survival. But here's the thing, that mindset doesn't fit the moment we're in today. The environment has changed. Banks have changed. The rules of engagement have changed. And so, the way we interpret what we hear must evolve too. When a bank says not yet, they're not saying never. This is where most people get tripped up. They walk into a bank, have a conversation, maybe even feel a little hopeful, and then the bank representative says something like, "We can't help you right now," or "We're not handling that at the moment." Instantly, that person walks out feeling defeated. They said no, Frank, that's it, game over. But wait, did the bank say it was a scam? No. Did they say it would never happen? No again. What they said was, not right now, and that makes all the difference in the world. A scam is final, it's a dead end. But not right now, that's temporary. That's timing. And timing, my friends, is everything when it comes to finance. You could have all your ducks in a row, the right paperwork, the right contacts, even the right currency note or account structure. But if the timing isn't aligned, the door won't open. Not yet, anyway. The rhythm behind the stories. Over the years, I've received thousands of calls, emails, and messages from people sharing what they call bank stories. Every single day, someone reaches out excited about a conversation they had at a bank. Their voice is full of energy, their hopes are high, and then, more often than not, they hit that wall. The bank said no. And you can hear the disappointment through the phone. That's when I always ask the same question. Did they say it's a scam? And almost every time the answer is no. They didn't say that. What they said was, not now. And that's the pattern I want you to understand today. In this journey, timing is not a side note. It's the foundation. What you interpret as rejection is often just the system not being ready yet. It's like trying to turn the soil before the frost has melted. No matter how much effort you put in, the ground won't yield until the season changes. So instead of taking a no as defeat, you've got to learn to hear it as what it really is, a signal that the timing isn't right yet. The pattern most people miss. See, the people who struggle the most are usually the ones who misunderstand the pattern. They expect instant results. They hear a no and assume it's permanent. But the successful ones, they know better. They recognize that what's happening isn't rejection, it's alignment. The system, the timing, the institutions, they're getting things ready behind the scenes. Think of it like this. A farmer doesn't quit when the seeds don't sprout overnight. He knows the process. He knows that the soil needs sun, water, and time, so he waits, patiently. In this world, patience is not weakness, it's wisdom. It's what separates those who give up too soon from those who reap the rewards later. Every time I get a call about a supposed no, I remind the caller that's part of the rhythm. It's not the end, it's the middle. The process unfolds in waves. First, there's curiosity. Then comes confirmation. Then comes preparation. And finally, opportunity. If you jump off the ride at the first sign of delay, you'll never reach the station where things actually start moving. The evolution of bank behavior. Now, let's talk about something very important. The tone of these bank interactions has changed. Years ago, banks were tight-lipped. They didn't want to talk about anything outside of standard transactions. If you even hinted at certain subjects, they'd shut down the conversation. Today, things look different. Many banks are more transparent. They'll tell you politely, professionally, we can't assist with that right now, or when the time comes, we'll be able to help. That's a big shift. They're not closing the door. They're managing the timing. They're acknowledging that something is in motion, just not at the public stage yet. And that honesty is powerful because it gives you a sense of where you stand. You're no longer operating in the dark or chasing wild rumors. You're dealing with information that has structure, sequence, and meaning. The message is consistent. It's not never, it's not yet. How people misread the signals. Let's take a look at what usually happens when someone hears a no from the bank. They come home deflated. They tell their spouse or their friends that the whole thing must have been fake. They stop researching. They stop checking in. They stop believing. And that right there is where most people lose the game. They're not defeated by the system. They're defeated by discouragement. The truth is, the financial world doesn't move at the pace of personal desire. It moves according to its own structure, regulations, global timing, and internal readiness. So if you want to succeed, you've got to learn to read between the lines. A no might just mean we're still verifying. We're still waiting for clearance. We're still preparing the logistics. If you can stay calm during that stage, you'll be positioned to act when things finally align. The seed analogy, patience in practice. I love to use this example because it's simple and it makes sense. Imagine planting a seed. You put it in the ground, water it, make sure it gets sunlight, and then you wait. You don't dig it up every day to see if it's growing. You don't pour a bucket of water hopping to speed things up. You trust the process. Now, does that mean the seed is doing nothing while you wait? Of course not. It's working quietly below the surface. It's establishing roots, preparing to break through when the time is right. That's exactly how these bank stories work. When a bank tells you not now, the seed is still in the soil. Things are happening behind the scenes. Processes are being put in place. You just can't see them yet. And if you lose patience and walk away, you're leaving just before the breakthrough. Real-life examples of timing at work. Let me share a few examples to bring this home. A while back, a gentleman reached out to me absolutely thrilled. He'd had a promising conversation with a bank representative, but when he went back for follow-up, they told him they couldn't proceed yet. He felt crushed. He thought he'd missed his shot. I told him the same thing I'm telling you now. They didn't say it's a scam. They just said it's not time. 6 months later, the same bank contacted him. The conditions had changed. The systems were ready. And suddenly, everything lined up perfectly. Had he given up, he would have missed his window completely. Another story came in just last week. A man called, discouraged after being told no by a teller. But when I asked what exactly they said, he explained it wasn't rejection, it was postponement. The words were clear. We can't assist at this moment. I reminded him that those words matter. At this moment implies movement. It implies time, and time moves forward. Patience turned his frustration into focus. The power of persistence. Persistence doesn't mean pestering the bank every single day. It means staying ready. It means keeping your information organized, staying in touch with the right contacts, and maintaining your awareness of updates. Most people give up too early. They assume silence means nothing is happening, but silence in the banking world often means preparation. So when others get tired, that's your cue to keep your faith strong. The process rewards those who stay in position. Timing is like a wave. You can't force it, but if you're patient and observant, you can ride it when it arrives. The role of transparency in today's financial world. Transparency is a huge part of this new era. Banks are being more straightforward than ever before, but many people misinterpret their honesty as hesitation. When a bank representative says, "We can't process that yet," they're not dismissing you. They're protecting the structure. They're making sure that when they do move forward, everything is compliant, coordinated, and legitimate. That's not a bad thing, that's a good thing. It means progress is happening the right way. So if you hear those words, don't let them discourage you. Instead, let them confirm that what you've been waiting for is real enough to require the right timing. Understanding the bigger picture. Let's zoom out for a moment. Banks don't make decisions in isolation. Their actions are influenced by global financial systems, regulations, currency policies, and international timing. So when a local branch says, "We'll help when the time is right," that phrase carries weight. It means the larger machinery of finance is still turning, aligning, preparing. That's why patience is such a valuable asset. You can't control when the system aligns, but you can control whether you're ready when it does. This is where knowledge becomes power. When you understand how these cycles move, you can plan better, stay calm, and recognize the signals others miss. Reading between the lines. In every bank story I've ever heard, there's one common thread. The ones who succeed are the ones who listen carefully. They don't just hear words. They pay attention to tone, timing, and context. If a banker says, "We're not able to help right now," that phrase should light up in your mind. That's not a dismissal, it's a window. Learn to hear that distinction. Learn to identify the not yet moments instead of interpreting them as never. That's how you position yourself ahead of the curve. Why most people miss the golden egg. The rare opportunities, the golden goose eggs, as I like to call them, are not as rare as people think. They're out there. They exist, but most folks never find them because they walk away too early. They hear the first no, assume it's over, and stop showing up. Meanwhile, someone else, someone patient, someone persistent stays the course. And when the timing finally shifts, guess who's ready? That's the person who reaps the reward. It's not about luck. It's about awareness. It's about recognizing the rhythm and moving in sync with it instead of fighting against it. The emotional side of waiting. I know waiting isn't easy. We're human. We want results, clarity, closure. But in this world, especially in matters involving banks, currency, or revaluation, impatience is the quickest way to miss your moment. You've got to train yourself to see delay as development. Behind the scenes, things are moving. Systems are being tested. Approvals are being finalized. Networks are syncing. Just because you can't see the gears turning doesn't mean they're not in motion. That's why your mindset matters. If you can stay calm, steady, and informed, you'll handle the waiting far better than most. Preparing while you wait. Don't waste the waiting period, use it. Organize your documentation. Learn about your financial options. Strengthen your understanding of what comes next. Because when the time finally arrives, things can move quickly and you don't want to be scrambling at the last minute. Preparation turns waiting into advantage. Remember, a no today doesn't mean failure. It means you've been given more time to prepare for your yes. Lessons from the journey. After years of listening to these stories and guiding people through them, I've noticed one consistent truth. The ones who win are the ones who understand the pattern. They know that the path isn't straight, it curves, it pauses, it loops back. And yet every movement is part of a larger rhythm. If you can learn that rhythm, if you can feel when things are building, when they're pausing, and when they're about to turn, you can make decisions that align with opportunity instead of emotion. Turning no into opportunity. Let's flip the perspective for a second. Instead of seeing no as a setback, see it as a signal. It's the universe saying, get ready. It's the system saying, not yet but soon. It's life giving you a window to prepare before the door opens. If you embrace that, you'll find that disappointment turns into focus. Instead of frustration, you'll feel anticipation. And when the moment comes, because it will come, you'll be standing right where you need to be. The power of pattern recognition. In finance, in business, and even in life, pattern recognition is everything. It's how the best investors make their moves. It's how smart leaders navigate uncertainty. These bank stories are no different. There's a rhythm to how they unfold. First, people start hearing things. Then the banks start shifting their tone. Then small signs of readiness appear: words, procedures, hints. Those who are tuned in recognize those signs early. Those who aren't tuned in dismiss them. Which side you end up on depends entirely on your awareness. Why this lesson matters beyond banking. Even if you strip away the financial angle, this lesson applies everywhere. In life, success rarely comes instantly. The best opportunities often require patience, persistence, and timing. You can't force results. You can only prepare for them. Whether it's business, relationships, or personal growth, the same principle applies. A no today is often the foundation for a yes tomorrow. You just have to stay consistent and ready. Final thoughts: your golden goose egg awaits. So what do we take away from all this? Bank stories are not myths. They're real glimpses into a process that operates on timing, structure, and readiness. The key is understanding that a no isn't a dead end, it's part of the journey. Patience, persistence, and perception, those are your three greatest tools. When you hear a not yet, remember it's not rejection. It's a signal that the system is aligning, that things are being prepared, that the timing is still catching up to your opportunity. Keep showing up. Keep asking questions. Keep your ears open and your expectations grounded. Because when the door finally opens, and it will, you'll be ready to walk through it. In this game, the winners aren't the lucky ones. They're the patient ones. They're the ones who understand the rhythm, respect the process, and wait for the right moment to move. So don't let a no steal your focus. Let it sharpen it. Because that not yet you heard today, that's the whisper before the breakthrough. And when your golden goose egg finally hatches, you'll look back and realize every moment of waiting was worth it. Disclaimer: all content provided by IQD Global Intel is for educational and informational purposes only. We are not financial advisors and do not provide investment, trading, or banking advice. Viewers should always conduct their own research and consult with a licensed financial advisor before making any financial decisions.